So you've been on your local trails. You're getting better and better each day you go out. You're putting in the work. But then you hear about this epic trail, 1,700 miles away. What would you do? How far would you go to get there? Good morning, Mountain Truth. I'm here to talk a little bit about fitness, right? And I opened up with that intro because the progression of my fitness level started when I really started seeking out the tougher mountains, those 14ers and the tougher challenges, the longer hikes. And, I thought I was in pretty good shape, but then I got into the altitude and I started going after those distances. And I quickly realized what I do at sea level has to be 10 times greater to accomplish what I want to do at 14,000 feet and above. Right? You can't just go and expect to have the same success on those types of trails. 75% grade steepness, coming from maybe occasional, 20%, 15%, you really have to attack steep, tough mountains differently than you do, say, a little tiny mountain, a hill, your local trails. Those big mountains require a level of fitness that you have to put in the work for. But it's April 17th, and just yesterday there was a report that somebody flew in and 200 steps in to the Manitou Incline died, right? Now there's probably some underlying conditions that happened there. Probably assumed that they were maybe fit. I don't know who the person was, but I'm sure they were doing some kind of exercise. And if not, that's a warning. You can't just go do things like that at altitude and expect to have good results, let alone not potentially put yourself in medical risk, right? And I've talked about this before. When you're going to attack tough mountains, tough terrain, you want to make sure you have all the advantages and you're not putting yourself and others at risk, and that's through fitness. Fitness is super important on the big mountains. You have to have a base level fitness to really get you where you want to go. I mean, your heart rate at higher altitudes is gonna instantly spike due to the lack of oxygen. Right? So if you're not working and putting your body in those kinds of scenarios that it's going to mimic, you're gonna have a tough time. Right? I've seen it countless times where somebody that looks like they're kind of out of shape, having a rough time, probably not at the best fitness level, and they're sitting down a fourth of the way into the trail and thinking about turning around. 3/4 into the trail, somebody's just absolutely tapped out, that they probably shouldn't have been on that trail attempting that. They should have been on a smaller hike, an easier mountain, something with not as much distance, right? And the reason that I am starting to take my fitness level into an everyday, spectrum is because I've been on those bigger mountains, and I know, right? Even myself, I consider myself in somewhat kind of decent shape, but when you go to attack those bigger mountains, you just are at such a disadvantage, right? I don't live at altitude, so acclimating and trying to do the things that get me to the top of those mountains, I can't expect to come from sea level and have success, right? And that's one of the challenges that we have for Mountain Truth, is being based in Texas, right? And then trying to attack mountains at altitude. It's the training level and the training routine has to be so intense that, when we get up to those 12,000, 14,000 peaks, we are just like normal average people up there, right? And that's just to get us to that point. Fitness is so important. Honestly, I joke around about it every day, but every day is leg day. Every day is a cardio day, because that's what's required to attack those kinds of mountains. So if you're working on your fitness and you're really thinking about attacking a mountain, yeah, you need to do some upper body stuff and you need to work on some strength training, but you really need to be attacking your cardio and you really need to be attacking your legs every single day. Trust me, when you start getting in those steep parts at elevation, your legs are going to be screaming, they're going to be crying, Their mental toughness needs to be there to say one more step, two more steps, left foot, right foot, right? And you only do that through the constant beating down of the body, the legs, and the mind. And that's the great thing about exercise, is that it doesn't just work your body, it works your mind. When you start putting yourself in environments where you're uncomfortable, there's a mental toughness that comes with that. It is super important to attack that and keep pushing your limits, right? So your exercise routine has to be pushed. You can't just plateau and expect, yeah, okay, it's not gonna hurt, it's gonna be fine, we're gonna get up there in normal time. This is a perfect example. The average route is 30 minutes per mile when you're on the mountains. Coming from sea level, I can tell you it's 45 minutes to an hour. The time doubles almost, right? So what is like an 8-hour trek is really a 16-hour trek. You have to account for that, and your fitness level has to account for that, right? 15 miles coming from sea level at just someone in decent shape is not going to be the same as somebody that lives up there that's also doing the same things, right? So when you're reading trip reports and you hear these people that are from up there and that it takes them 8 hours to do something, just keep in mind they live up there and you don't, right? Now for the people that are up there doing it, hey, don't just take your altitude and where you live for granted. You also have to have a baseline, because at any point in time, right, that cardio can kick in. If you're partying, drinking, doing all those things, and then expecting to go spike your heart rate up in those higher elevation portions of the mountain where your oxygen is still lacking, you could potentially put yourself at risk, right? And we never want to do that. We always want to come back home. Fitness is super important to attacking those bigger mountains. Not only is it important for that, but it's going to make your life so much better. You're going to see positive results in other areas of your life, right? You're going to see that energy come back. Those pains, those aches that you normally have are going to start to go away as you start bulletproofing your body. Home life, we've talked about, it's going to be better. Your work life is probably going to get better. Your attention span is going to get better. Just everything starts falling in focus. We're humans. We have bodies, we have muscles, we have bone structure. There's a reason for that. Especially as men, we have to keep using those bodies. Bodies in motion stay in motion, right? Bodies at rest stay at rest. Simple principle, but it really does hold true. And I tell you, when I take a day off, when I take 2 days off, and I try and attack the same exercise routine that I skipped, it takes me a full day or two to get back into that cycle where I was, right? So even though I just crushed it the day before and my body hurts, I keep telling myself, okay, it's going to be even worse if I take this day off. It really is incumbent on us to work our bodies, to bulletproof our bodies. And I'm telling you, you're going to have so much better of a time. The journey, that struggle on the mountain is going to be so much more worth it when you're actually able to conquer the pain, the mental struggle that you're going to go through, because you've already put yourself in those positions, right? So exercise is absolutely key. There's so many good exercises out there that you can be doing, whether it's running, mountain biking, Stairmasters, mimicking that actual upward motion, that downward motion that you're going to be doing. If you're going to be doing 15 miles on a trail, make sure that you're putting in the work to get close to that 15 miles, right? Not just doing a couple miles here and there and expecting, oh yeah, I'm going to be fine when I go up there and do it. No, you want to mimic what you're doing, right? Also, when you're going uphill, what does that motion look like, right? So lunges, bunch of box steps, weighted. You're going to have a pack on your back with water, right? You have to account for that. Those are all important things that we need to account for when we're actually preparing for these mountains and trips and treks. What type of activity are you going to be doing? You have to account for it, guys, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to make things better. You're going to have great views. The journey's going to be worth it. Attack that mountain. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. What's your mountain?